Hello, greetings everybody. The debate on the cathedral, the National Cathedral of Ghana, is ongoing. People are saying a whole lot of stuff about it. This is like a second stretch of my initial presentation on the cathedral. But just a few things I want us to delve into and continue with the assessment to see whether it's really important to us in these very times of economic hardship and harsh economic circumstances. Okay, so now people have talked about the blessings following the establishment of the cathedral. So while God deposited all the gold and natural resources on our land, the vast arable lands, we have so much resources to go to farm, we have everything. God gave us this thing and was still waiting for us to establish a cathedral before He will open our minds and our eyes to realize how prudently we can put to use these resources to inure to the benefit of every single Ghanaian. There are people who don't even believe in God, and they have been able to come into Africa, taking these resources, and have been able to develop their countries with these same resources. So, what kind of God, gives people all the resources, gives them brains to reason, to make use of their resources, but however, is waiting for establishment of an edifice, a physical structure, before He will actually pour His blessings on them. So that is very misleading. I'm not trying to disregard Christians, but there's so much brainwashing when it comes to the scope of the practice of the religion and the mindset. Very worrying. And it's as though the moment they set out to distinguish themselves as Christians, they ought to stop thinking. There are some who are quite critical and analytical. The taxpayers' money are being advanced into the project without prior approval from Parliament. Now, where the people, the constituents, represented by the Parliament, gave their consent, do they agree, in spirit, that these funds be actually used for cathedral in times of harsh economic circumstances? And I have heard so many people say so many things about how the cathedral will generate funds. But I'm saying that if it's a commercial monument, then we ought to, right from the onset, distinguish and establish it as such. The commercial bit changes the whole narration. So I would suggest that it was an afterthought when there was so much criticisms, people disagreeing with the idea of a cathedral. So then we had to find a way to add some facilities to the project to make it seem as though it generated money to the state, because people questioned the commercial relevance or the economic relevance of a cathedral. And if it's about the spiritual benefits, we already have so many churches and cathedrals across the country. All right, we have so much in terms of infrastructure to worship God, and besides, we don't need physical structures to please God. So what is the point in saying that the cathedral is what will actually fortify us spiritually and create a harmonious link between us and God? That's a big lie. Right on the onset, the cathedral is being built on the altar of lies, deception, and waste. Why do you use taxpayers' money to fulfill a personal promise to God? You did not promise God a cathedral with the consent of the people. Are we interested as a people in a cathedral in these times of harsh economic circumstances? And do we need a cathedral before God will have mercy on us and pour down His blessings? So the kind of shallow-mindedness, the shallow thinking that's being displayed out there on the basis of blessing, it's quite ridiculous and funny. And I don't expect any person schooled enough to walk around with such mindset. Then we have a big problem. Now listen to this gentleman in the video, and I'll be back.
Will be built as a monument to Elohim so that our country will be saved, because our country needs salvation. Can't you see? Africa needs salvation, and that salvation is going to come from God. That salvation is not going to come from economics. That salvation is not going to come from statistics. That salvation is not going to come from engineering. That salvation is not going to come from law. The salvation may take the effect of engineering, but the salvation must first of all come from God. The Lord must look upon us with mercy. That's what we need. The Lord must look upon us with mercy. So those of us who have common sense and are on social media and are writing, why is the president giving 25 million and this and that and talking plenty and the cathedral is going to cost you to lose elections? No one will lose elections before.
One funny thing I've heard people say about the cathedral is the attempt to draw in the American factor in trying to say that America has come this far because they believe in a cathedral and because they are religious. Okay, but let me read something to you from the American Constitution. Okay, from the American history. All right, the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The two parts, known as the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, respectively, form the textual basis for the Supreme Court's interpretation. So America as a country does not hold any entrenched interest in religion nor any form of the cathedral. Alright, so that cannot be the argument. It sounds very funny and very ridiculous, and people trying to relate the blessing of America to a cathedral are quoting out of ignorance, and they are very funny. Secondly, I am going to show you a map of the world indicating countries that are more religious and those that are less religious, and then you can examine by yourself the level of development in those religious countries and less religious countries for yourself. Now on the screen, as you can see, Africa seems to be more religious. More of the countries in Africa are more religious, indicated by the dark red color, and then the fainted pink represents countries with less religious interests. So Africa is not the continent that's the most developed, but as you can see indicated on the map, it is more religious than the other continents. So on the basis of a cathedral and religion and blessing of God, it is absolutely absurd to hear anyone try to justify the quest for blessing by the establishment of a cathedral.
We